In this episode, I have the pleasure of doing my first in-person chat with a good friend and ex-colleague of mine, Duncan James. We're chatting side hustles and photography. Duncan is an amazing art director who has worked in the employer and education marketing space for more years than he'd care to admit. I've worked with him for a lot of my career, and he's a highly talented creative who's also won a bagload of awards. He also manages to find time for a few side hustles. I really don't know how he manages it, but one of them is mad mods and a camera. And for someone who doesn't see himself as a photographer, he sure knows what makes a great photo. So over to you, Dunks. Right, Dunks.
Right, matey, you alright?
Yeah, good to see you, mate. This is quite a momentous occasion for me, Dunks.
I know, but I believe we're doing it face on face with each other.
First time face to face.
I know.
This is a socially distanced, of course. We are our obligatory 2 meters, kind of, just about.
You're a very good liar, Chris. Very good liar.
But this is the first in-person episode of the Employer Content Marketing Pod. So super chuffed to have you with us today.
Well, I'm chuffed to have a chat with you, matey.
Yeah, good. So let's start off with just to introduce yourself to the listeners and kind of a bit about you and what you're doing at the moment.
Well, I'm Duncan James. I'm an art director at a leading advertising agency based in London.
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of a side hustle called madmodsandacamera.com.
Yeah.
That all started by accident in 2015, travelling past a cafe in Enfield.
Okay.
Where I saw a bunch of mods outside, which now I know were sort of half mods and half scooter boys.
Okay.
And for some unknown reason, I had to go back and photograph them.
You felt drawn to them?
Yeah, I do not know why, because I hadn't picked up a camera for 20 years. I hadn't photographed anything at all, even though I worked with photographers with my sort of day job as an art director, doing shoots and things like that, and video shoots.
Yeah.
But nothing, even on holiday, I wouldn't even pick up a camera and take a photograph of anything. No interest whatsoever.
And you'd, so your role as art director, so we've worked together as well, and that's been kind of between education marketing and employer marketing, isn't it? Probably quite a bit of employer marketing.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, nice. We've been involved in quite a few photo shoots actually. It's been good fun.
Yes, absolutely.
So the best stuff that we've often got is stuff that's
no one else wanted to do.
No one else wants to do. exactly. And just the impromptu stuff. But anyway, back to MadMod. So tell us about it.
So I just literally had to go back and photograph them. So it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was Remembrance Sunday.
Okay.
And so I went back home and I just dashed upstairs to the loft and got my little digi camera.
Yeah.
And I went back and then I sat across the road for about 20 minutes because I thought they'd tell me to jog on if some sort of geezer turned up and said, "Can I take some photographs?"
Yeah. What
would you want, mate? And and in the end I thought, I've got to do it. So I went across the road and I sort of said to some guys, "Do you mind if I take some photos?" And the guy who I now know is called Smiler just turned around to me and just sort of said to me, "Where do you want us?"
Awesome.
So I just thought, right, okay. I just told them, just be yourselves, and I just walked around them taking photographs.
Yeah.
And there was only one shot that I did at the end where I asked one guy just to line the scooters up and just stand with his back to me so I could take a photograph of his back with his stuff, his emblems and all that on the back, with the other guys just looking at me. And that was it. So it felt like I was there for hours, but it wasn't. It just went like in seconds. And then I went home and I sort of quickly downloaded them. And I don't know why, but in my head they had to be black and white.
Okay.
So I converted all into black and white, and I sent them to them the following day, thinking I wouldn't get a response or anything. And they sort of came back and went, "Well, we love these. These are really nice."
Wicked.
And then they invited me to meet up for a scooter night, one of their drinks sort of thing.
Okay.
And it just literally went from there. And it was because it was Remembrance Sunday. It was the last big sort of function of that whole sort of scene until it kicked off the following year, which is called the Kickstart, which now is the Wassel London do a Kickstart ride out.
Okay.
Which is usually in March, I think. I could be wrong, but and then that was my next shoot. So I had sort of a real burst of it, and then I had to sit around for about sort of 4 or 5 months before it sort of started.
So that you did that, and that's kind of sparked this all off. So what does it become? What are you doing with Mad Mods on the camera now?
With it now, I'm getting asked to do shoots for most of the events now going along. Wow. People want prints, and it's developed to a point now where I'm actually doing my own projects within the scene. Okay. So, and for me, I sort of like when I started to be asked to do a couple of more things. When I first kicked off, I sort of did a bit of research to see if anything was out there from a photography point of view, and there's nothing really out there. In fact, the only things that are out there are the sort of books that I collected when I was younger, because I loved that whole sort of scene. Not that I was sort of like a full-time mod or anything like that, it was far from it, but I definitely loved the music, but the look and all that sort of stuff, from a sort of design background, it is that whole minimalist and stuff, there's something really quite cool about it. Nice. So it's gone on. I've probably lost my train of thought now, but it's now developed where I'm actually creating my own sort of projects within it because of the people now that I've known. So I've just finished off one which is called Suited and Booted, which is a guy called Paul Welsh, who's a hairdresser in London. Yeah, he's called a suede head. Right. And
what on earth's a suede head?
Suede head. Well, the suede head. Don't get me to explain. Suede. So you have the mods. Then I'll get this all wrong. You have mods. Then you have a suede heads, and you have the skinheads. So it's how they were broken up, basically. So it's so they're called suede heads. So do forgive me if I get the terminology wrong. But off the back of that, now that project that I did just for myself on my own website. It's going to be, by the time you listen to this, it's going to be in a magazine that's been launched, which is just really, going from just shooting some guys outside a cafe in Enfield to sort of like doing my own sort of stuff within the scene and sort of documenting this whole subculture.
Well, your Instagram account is great. It's just the photos. Say the black and white is really, really striking, and seeing photos of people in clubs or just people out on the road, getting together because they're brought together because of their love of the mod culture is fantastic.
Yeah, especially the youngsters that are coming through. That's why I said when I sort of do it, I don't regard myself as a photographer. I am really learning as I go along. I would never say I'm a photographer. It's that's why I have that line on the front of my website, which is you have to click with the individual. It's more important to click with the individual than the shutter.
I love that quote.
So to me, on point, so to me, it's getting that access, that trust. And if you look at my photography on madmodsonthecamera.com, 9 times out of 10, I'm literally standing right beside them. I'm not like across the road or So even like shooting my first time in a club. That was like really on the hoof in learning how to do it, which again was a great experience. But it was just again gaining their trust. It was this great event in Bristol. I was asked to photograph the 3 days in there, and just literally just having the access to that whole scene and photographing it, it's just brilliant, absolutely lovely, and it's just grown and grown and grown.
Isn't that, I think there's that trust thing which is really important, isn't it? Because you are literally, you're creating a rapport with the people around you, so they therefore feel relaxed.
Yes.
And I think when you start looking at photography, and I think this is particularly the case in the employer marketing scene, where it's photography all of a sudden becomes this, you can just see employees start to get a little bit edgy about things and go, oh, okay, you put them into a false environment, or a relatively false environment where they're just, I don't know, you're taking them out of what they do normally and who they are normally. Yeah. And this whole thing it's talked about a lot, isn't it? Bringing your whole self to work, and the employer brands are fundamentally, owned by the employees themselves and their experiences. Then that trust between a photographer on your case, I'm doing flying quotes here, a photographer dunks, because
well,
you don't class yourself as one, but the trust between a photographer and the people who are photographing is really important, so they do feel more relaxed and they do feel natural.
See, if from the role that I have as an art director and what I do as my day job, you know, you do a photo shoot, you go with a professional photographer, which is great, and you learn off those. But 9 times out of 10, you're usually photographing people that have never been really put in that environment. Yeah. They're asked to do things that is really not them, or they're roped in to do stuff, or, you know, depending what the creative idea is or what you need to do. If you're doing stuff that shows the atmosphere of the place and all that sort of stuff. So for me, it's all about clicking with those individuals, making them relax. Because all you want to do is show authenticity. And so from my point of view, any sort of shoot, that's what you want to get across. And nothing overstaged. It should be a case of them completely relaxed. They don't know the photographer is there to capture exactly what that whole environment, that company, that experience, what it's all about. And it's authenticity, because if you see something and then turn up and it's like, that's not what I've been sold, it's very easy to sort of go, well, we've got that wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So from my point of view, that's really, every time I go on a job, is creating that authenticity in what you want. Even if it's just, if it's a headshot, a video headshot of someone talking. Again, it's getting them to be that relaxed that they feel that they are generally just talking to a friend, and it comes across authentic. Actually,
I was talking to Nick Francis. I've had him on the pod a few times. Nick Francis from Casual Films, co-founder, chairman of Casual Films. And you know, we have talked about, and off the pod as well, talked about this thing of, you know, and we've experienced as well, some of the best video content you get is when you're actually just rolling the camera, and you're just, you know, it's in between maybe the more in between the questions, because someone will say something and all of a sudden you go, that's really interesting, and that's often where you strike the gold, isn't it? Yeah, because it all feels very natural.
And sometimes you have to get the trust of the client has to allow that trust. You can't script stuff so you have to allow that flexibility, and that's gaining that trust with the client to let you sort of develop that.
I think that's particularly, mate, I was worked with you for, I think.
Don't say too long, because then I'll come across like I'm really old.
Certainly over 10 years, that's for sure. Quite a long time, mate. I can't believe it, but. You know, whenever I worked with you, you know, so many clients, you know, say, you know, just how they're just relaxed, you know. And I think it's about the way you approach people, and that you have just a great manner with people, and you do make them feel at ease with themselves. So, you know, shoots in Copenhagen and what was it, Guernsey, Jersey, and all those ones. We won't go into too much detail about that,
but from my point of view, that's exactly what I'm just doing with Mad Mods and the camera, and so it's really weird, because to me that's the only reason I can pick up a camera is this environment that I'm in, because the belief in what I want to photograph and I want to document. Because, like I said, I've done sort of research to see what's out there, and I remember in the 80s and that sort of when I was, you know, at school and secondary school, and it's really weird. I had books that I bought then, photographic books about the mod scene, that I am now photographing those people when they were young. Now they're older, and I'm having those conversations with those people, and I was going, I recognise you, weren't you? Blah blah blah, and then it's such a small world, but it's opened up doors everywhere. You know, so from on Twitter, met a great guy, spoke to him online. Lucas went out to Marbella, so I've shot stuff out there. The mod scene out in Marbella, so I get invited back. In fact, they were the first ones to do an exhibition of my work out in Spain, which was just a weird concept that I just kept thinking. I shot stuff, started in Enfield, you know, 2015, I think. Now I keep thinking because it only feels like a couple of years, but it's not now. It's like, you know, and I was there in Spain 2 years later doing my first exhibition. Got the stuff all printed out there, you know, and then I was introduced to the media out there. It was surreal.
I bet it was, yeah.
So when I say the media out there, even though it was local TV, whatever, that was like, they really want to know about what I'm doing. It was just.
I remember the video. Yeah, that was good. Oh, you're natural in front of the camera, don't you?
But that was that was. But yeah, I just love it. Like I said, I would never say I'm a photographer. I'm learning all the time, and I think that's why I think some of my photography does come across like this. It is quite raw and very, very natural. It's not. It's not constructed. It's not. It's there at the moment. And my biggest compliment is people within the scene that when they look at it, they go, "You've got that on the money. That's right. That's the biggest compliment." So then I know I'm doing the right thing.
Well, it's just when it's when you get just keep it simple in terms of you've got something. It could be a phone, camera. As long as it's decent enough quality, that's all you need, and you just need to be there in the moment. And I really like what you say about documenting, because that's ultimately looking at it it could be from a mod's perspective, but also from an employer marketing perspective. It's just about documenting things, and ultimately my view is that employer brand and employer branding is about documenting the experiences, the stories, the values and the advice of an organisation. And if people see that and have some sort of rapport with it, empathy with it, then there's more chance they'll join and they'll stay.
I think at the moment I get more enjoyment now because a lot of it is now video stuff, which obviously is a no-brainer, but especially the sort of the graduate market, the universities and all that sort of stuff, that's where you can really, with really lovely photography, capture that real essence of what that life is all about. In being, and I've done it with a couple of universities where they've let me have total access to absolutely everything and go off and do stuff, which again you can't really do a mood board for that. You can't sell that in beforehand. You can don't get me wrong, you can sell it in to a certain degree, but that's not just turning up on the day. That's doing a walk round a few days beforehand, so they not that they remember you, but at least you know the layout, exactly what it's like. This is what's happening in here, this is what's happening here. You take your camera, you start shooting bits and pieces, you start talking to people, because people are generally interested. Oh, this is what we're coming back in a couple of days, time, whatever. And 9 times out of 10 when you start talking to people, they'll go, "Oh, we'll be around. You want a photograph?" There you've got someone who really wants to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's I think is where I really enjoy that. That's lovely. That's really, really lovely. And that's where, if I'm really honest, I would take my camera and I will just shoot stuff. And I would shoot stuff just to learn more about how I would use my camera. Yeah. So that's really nice.
We did something back in February, wasn't it, with a school, a local school. And, I love the fact that, when you were taking photos, you were talking to people. We just had the camera there somewhere. You weren't behind the camera. The wall wasn't there. Yeah, the barrier wasn't there.
I have to say that's a bit. Not people don't know how I start. I never actually put the camera up to the viewfinder up to my eye. Yeah. The whole I think it's one of the greatest inventions. The back actually clipping out, because I always hold my camera down by my waist. So I'm always visually talking to them. They see but they never see the camera. Yeah, and it's the way even if I'm not talking to someone, how I hold my camera, because then I get loads of people going like, "My God, you must be really crouching down." It's like, no, I'm just holding my camera and I'm doing hand movements, which obviously no one would actually see. But what I'm saying is, I will never hold it up to my eye.
And you can take so many shots these days anyway, can't you? That It's I don't know, maybe the thing about making it perfectly kind of studio quality framed and isn't as important now as it used to be, because you can take lots of shots where you can actually get away with making a few mistakes, and that's not quite right, but I know that something else will be there which will be better.
I was trying to think of a really good friend of mine. She when I told her about the fact that we were doing that job when we were shooting that school, which was lovely, which was done over a weekend, not during work time, Chris. You must emphasise that. Yep. She used a really lovely term, and what was lovely about shooting kids was there was no baggage. There was no, and that's not the term she used. They're not blinkered by anything. Yeah. They're not. If you go into a business or something like that and start photographing, people bring not an attitude, but they bring like, oh, I don't want to be here or whatever.
Yeah.
To them, it's just you're capturing as it is, which is
just
really
themselves,
yeah,
aren't they?
which is really. If I can remember, she came up with a really lovely term, which I thought that was just really really nice. But that's what I loved about doing that. And also, what was nice, we went up the day before. We went a couple of days before and just have a little walk round, just to sort of see what it was all about and all that sort of stuff. Started speaking to some of the kids, so they knew who I was when I was going to come in and all that sort of stuff. But like you said, when I did it, I was just sitting in the class, sitting on one of the little chairs.
Yeah.
And I was talking to them, and I was holding my camera to the left and right, and I was just shooting stuff, and that was it. You can't. That was just that shoot. I loved. I thought that was lovely. That was really really nice.
When you look at it from I think in most organisations, if not all organisations, as a place of work, there are so many of those opportunities to capture those moments, and that's it. It's about capturing those moments.
Yes.
But to kind of take someone out of their work and of their natural environment, and then put them in a studio, or put them in a room with all the kit around it, I think straight away just is more chance that someone's not going to be themselves. Not to say that we've been in studio shoots where people are very natural, but
it all depends. All depends. Because 9 times the stuff that we do, or what I do, is there's no models. You are taking people from that company and doing this stuff. So
exactly.
And like you said, it does work. And again, it depends on the concept of what you want to try and get across. So, but yeah.
So, what's your next thing for Mad Mods then? Mad Mods on a camera?
Well, because obviously not a lot of people listen to your podcast, Chris.
I think just my mum. Yeah.
Exactly. So I can tell you. So I know it won't go any further. I've been doing a sort of another project with the Mad Mods, which is called Subculture Lockdown.
Okay, nice.
Which, again, if you think about the whole sort of mod scene, suede, all that sort of stuff, they love peacocking, which is basically, they love being out, people seeing them, all that sort of,
okay.
and I mean that in a nice way.
Yeah.
They're happy people to come up and take photographs and all that sort of stuff. But you think about the whole lockdown, they can't go anywhere.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, so what I've been doing is I've been going out and photographing them across the country.
Okay.
So, which has been really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
So because the whole scene doesn't die, the whole look doesn't die, because you just live and breathe it.
Yeah,
and these, so I've shot people who've done club nights through Facebook.
Nice.
I've gone down and photographed them, so it's just
that's good.
Which is really lovely, and their stuff is going across the world. Going to lockups across London. So I'm literally documenting the scene still. Because I went 2 weeks and I hadn't picked up my camera, and I was just like, I can't. This is going to do my head in.
Yeah.
I have to go and photograph something, but I can only photograph what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't go out and photograph a nice landscape, and not saying that's that's not nice, but it's not me.
Not you, yeah, exactly.
So it's called Subculture Lockdown.
Good stuff.
So I've still got up to around about 20 now that I've done of people within the scene, right across the scene.
That's brilliant.
Which is absolutely lovely, because it's in some way, see again this whole trust thing, because they're letting me into their world, actually where they live, because I always used to meet them all in that common arena, either a club, a ride out, or whatever, and because people have heard about what they're doing, they're getting in contact. Do you want to come and photograph me? And I'll go, yeah, I'd love to come and photograph you. Go and have a chat with them, and then go and shoot stuff, which I know that they will feel really proud and have a picture of it. And it will be something that will go towards something bigger that I'm working on as well.
And actually, I think documenting now is, in the last few weeks and months, is I think really important. So it's lovely to do that, as you know. Because people, I think people want to be able to look back and see what life was like. But particularly now, I think it becomes particularly what's the word, poignant, perhaps not poignant, but it's a really good time to document.
Like I said, I couldn't. I found it really, really frustrating that I couldn't go out and photograph. So I could see all this stuff going on online and things like that. So I thought I've just got to photograph someone, and it started with someone just around the corner from here that I knew. So I photographed her, which was fantastic, and then I just started getting in contact with people that I knew really quite well in the scene.
Yeah.
Can I come up? I've got this idea. I'd love to do this, and their first reaction was like, yeah, let's do it. That's great. You know, so it's just grown and grown and grown.
So what you've been to like 20 different people?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
with your Dominic Cummings excuses in your pocket.
Well, you know, all done with social distancing.
Yeah, too right.
It's good, but it's just a nice way of documenting that scene that can't get out, but I'm just still going to photograph it, which has been lovely.
Nice.
Just absolutely loved it, yeah. And it's still going on. So I think I've got another shoot. I've got to go to Norwich, which is really cool, and then I might be going to Lincoln. Yeah, it's just I just love it. I just love it. Just absolutely love it.
So when's it going? Is it going out soon? Then are you putting it out?
Well, I'm going to put it'll go out on my website when officially the lockdown is like properly. I think I'm going to probably wait till August before I actually launch it out onto my website. I've still got a couple of events that I've done, and I haven't put them up on my website. There's a club that happens called Ches 66 in Soho that I go down and photograph, and they do events once a month, and that's a really good crowd that goes there. So, but that started just shooting in the club, and now I'm actually shooting them outside the club. I'm shooting them in cafes that they go to, which are sort of very retro 60s. So, but again, why don't you do this? Why don't you come with us to do this? Which is great. And then I'm sort of setting stuff up in the sense of, well, can we shoot stuff here?
That's great.
So that's something really, really nice as well. So I've got like 3 events that I haven't even put up on my website. And people are still sort of messaging me, well, you took those shots at that club, have you got them yet? And I'm like, well, no, not yet. So when it gets a bit more relaxed, then I'm going to put those up on my website and push that out on my Instagram. But what I have been working on, which has sort of stopped that, this is
okay. What have we got here?
Because if you think about within the scene what I'm shooting now, loads of them are sort of saying, when are you going to do a book? When are you going to do a book? When are you going to do a book? Sort of thing. And that's what I'm moving into, which is self-publishing.
Have I got my first exclusive ever on this podcast, Dunks?
Well, technically, my mum knew about it before you, Chris.
Okay,
but you can take the first one if you want to. So what I've done is I had a meeting with the National Brain Appeal.
Okay.
It's something that is really, really close to my heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I pitched an idea to them that this is what I want to do. I've got all this photography, and I showed them an idea. I wanted to do this, and they loved it, and they're going to be backing it as well.
That's great.
And like I said, I've moved into self-publishing now, so we can have a chat about that as another podcast.
Yeah,
we want to do that.
But this see what you've done there, Dunks.
Yeah. So this has just been hot off the press. Has come back.
It's a beautiful book.
Which in the old days, it's a test proof, and it's documenting the first 6 ride-outs that I did, starting, and there you go. That's the first photograph I took to Enfield.
It's in December, isn't it? Oh no, in 2015.
Yeah, November. Remembrance Sunday. So this is 100 pages that is documenting, like I said, my first 6 ride-outs or events that I went to.
Oh, that first one's in Greg's on Baker Street.
Absolutely.
Lovely, big fan.
And like I said, there is the finished article that has come hot off the press from the printers that I'm dealing with, and for me to sign off. And so I'm going to be, like I said, moving into self-publishing. There's going to be about 150 to come off, 100 pages, and so like I said, I've been talking to the National Brain Appeal. I've sent pictures to them so they can see what it looks like. But what I want to do is, it's not just a mod book that's going out. I want it to be an education piece.
Okay.
And with the great work that the National Brain Appeal does.
Yeah.
And as an organisation, how it should be. If there's something you want to make a donation or whatever, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice.
And the fact that they want to back it as well, which was just lovely when I saw them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you're the first one to to see it.
Great photos. It's lovely to see, because I recognise some of these from your Instagram account, and but it's lovely to see it in print. And I think there's some beautiful photos here. Like of course we've got the scooters, big part of the scene, isn't it?
It is.
And are they Vespers?
Well done.
Vespers,
Well
yes.
and
I know my stuff,
Lambrettas.
and Lambrettas, I know my stuff.
But also it's a big compliment because these are the first early shots. And what I want to do with the books is, because there's another one that's going to come out after this. From my point of view, it's then sort of documenting my style of photography, how I would like to think I'm improving.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
And doing stuff, but also it's a massive, big thank you back to the people within that sort of subculture, and especially also what's lovely, I'm now shooting the younger ones that are coming through.
Yeah, it's nice.
And they are, they take it to the nth degree, which is absolutely beautiful.
And so they give it their own twist, don't they? Which is lovely progress there.
Absolutely, which is really, really nice. In fact, obviously you won't be able to see this, but all these badges were badges that I had when I was sort of like 10, 11, 12. So I kept them all. So then I photographed them all. The Union Jack flag, which is used as a divider in it, all shot here.
Yeah, it's lovely. No, really nice book, mate, and it's it's all for a really, really good cause as well. So
absolutely, and everything, all everything when you buy it, all goes straight to my brother's charity, which is with the National Brain Appeal.
That's nice, mate. That's lovely. Well, yeah, beautiful.
But yeah, so you've seen it first.
Thank you, mate.
So there you go.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that with me.
Just put it down, Chris. You don't have to take it with you. Simple as that. My God. But yeah.
Well, Dunks, thanks. Yeah, really appreciate you grabbing some time and being part of the first in-person, socially distanced episode.
Well, slightly.
Yeah. And it's awesome, and we'll do as well. Make sure we get another chat in at some point.
Is your turn to go to the bar?
I think it is actually.
I think it is.
What are you having?
I'll have whatever you're having twice.
Okay, mate. Nice. Well, it is Friday anyway.
Exactly.
Well, cheers, mate. Thanks very much. And thanks everyone for listening. And see you later.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bye. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to follow or subscribe for the latest episode drops. And don't forget to get in touch if you want to contribute.